Yo, thought I would record a bit of a ramble today. I feel like people don't really talk about skilling that much anymore, about like the mindset, the approach, whatever else. Back in the earlier days of OSRS, people like Acid Soul used to make more philosophical, ramble-y skilling videos, which I thought were cool. And yeah, let's talk about it a bit today. What is skilling like in 2024? I just watched my video from 7 years ago, 2017, about called "Complaining About OSRS," which I thought was all right. I think my delivery was like a 5 out of 10. My points were like a 7 out of 10. I think a lot of the stuff I said in that video was true and still holds true today. And my fears, like the things that I didn't like about OSRS back then, none of that has gotten better. It's only gotten worse from my perspective. So, and I mean, a few months after that video, I completely burnt from that account. Like 2 months, 2 to 3 months after that video, I was out and never really returned to that account in a serious way. And I don't regret that. If anything, I wish I'd quit just right after I got tunable mining, boom, and focused on the free to play UAM or something else. But it took me another year and a bit to finally get to the point of understanding and accepting the fact that the way that I liked skilling just wasn't going to remain in the game. It's not what the community wanted, and it was a niche subculture of the game that has it still exists sort of, but it's a shadow of its former self, I would say. And here I am AFKing. Yeah, I've had people still flame me on Twitter and whatever, and I'm sure I'll get some like negative comments on this video. Like I was criticizing, what was I criticizing? I was criticizing the like mixology changes because they like it was pretty balanced on release, and high level players said it was pretty balanced, and then they buffed it a bunch. They buffed it by like 40%, and they said that it shouldn't affect XP rates. Classic Jagex move. Oh yeah, it was. I tweeted about how the new aggro pots, whatever they're called, you can drink them. One dose lasts 6 minutes, and monsters around you will aggro you. So it basically just turns Slayer into like way more AFK easy for most tasks. And I made a tweet saying like basically Slayer is the new Redwoods, but way more EHP per hour. And I was, being toxic or whatever a little bit in the way I worded it. And yeah, people were mad. And then people were criticizing me for AFKing on this account. And like, why would you criticize AFK methods if you AFK on your account? Which is a fair criticism for sure. My response to that would be, I play the game. I play the game for efficiency. I'm going to do the methods that exist in the game. I've long since given up on the idea of like any sort of morality toward the game of like I won't do this or that method because I think it tarnishes the reputation of my account or something like that. That was kind of like a more common way to think about the game in the early days of OSRS. People like Jebram were like super dorky about that kind of stuff, but that died within like 2 or 3 years. I mean, Lynx Titan was the epitome of an opportunist. He would maximize anything that he possibly could to get the most DHP per day, and didn't give a fuck what people thought. He was using alts as soon as he could. He was doing 6-hour Guthins and whatever, and he landed on top. That's what it is. I don't really think that it's the responsibility of individual players to restrict themselves arbitrarily. You can do that if you want, but I don't think it gains you anything. I think it's the responsibility of Jagex to make their game better, to make it so it's not possible to do 6-hour Guthins, or make it so that alts are not allowed anymore the way they used to be. So yeah, I AFK. I use the methods that I can within my account restriction. I basically rely on free-to-play Ultimate Iron Man to make the game fun for me, because there are so many things that I don't have access to that even if I'm playing in this way where I take advantage of everything I possibly can, I still enjoy the game because it's still challenging and slow, and you have to, plan things out and think about your long-term strategy and whatever. And for me, in my current IRL situation, AFKing is certainly a very powerful tool. So I use it, but I'm not happy about it, I guess. I mean, the things that I AFK on this account have always been around, so it's not really like abusing new school or whatever, but it's still, it is what it is. It's AFK XP. I'm busy IRL. I have a job and, girlfriend and whatever else. So my hours per day that I can actively play are less. And maybe in the perfect version of RS, that would just mean I wouldn't make a lot of XP gains because there wouldn't be much AFK options. But I'm playing the version of RS that we have, which is still the best one that exists, and may as well take advantage of what it has to offer. So basically, I will continue to advocate against EasyScape and adding more AFK methods and making existing methods more AFK, but I'm long past arbitrarily restricting my account to avoid those things, because I think it's just kind of pointless and it's a losing battle. So yeah, I'm waiting for the day that we get RuneSpan or something that makes free-to-play Iron Man rune crafting go from 5k an hour to 20k or 50k or whatever. And it'll be a sad day to me, but of course I'll use that. Of course I'll take advantage of it. It's kind of part of what you have to do if you actually want to play this game long term, to get so hung up and frustrated by every single update, you're just going to quit eventually, which maybe is a good thing. But now that I'm playing this game again, I intend to play this account for the long term in a more serious way. And so as a result, I have to adjust my mindset a bit, because the game is what it is and the community is what it is, and never am I going to have enough influence to actually shape the game in the way that I would want it to be. So you gotta play to the game. So yeah, to me, pay-to-play skilling is dead, but free-to-play skilling is still alive, and hopefully it still has another 5 or 10 years left. Who knows? Free-to-play skilling it's changed in the last 5 years for sure. Not in any enormous ways, and that's nice to see. But yeah, on the topic of pay-to-play skilling, I feel that pay-to-play has basically just become a PVM game now. It was going in that direction for so long, and we're fully there. Skilling is very much a side project. It's on the back burner. It's not very interesting. There's still people going for tunable all. There's still some really good skillers. There's still records being set on Temple and stuff, but it's still much smaller than the skilling community of the past. There's a lot less excitement around it. There's a lot less hype, and there's a lot less interest. And I think that's partly because, I think it's primarily because the direction the game is taken with the updates, but it's also partly just a kind of an inevitability, I think, because if the game is out for long enough, the high scores will fill up no matter what. I mean, I would be very curious to see what the high scores would look like if there weren't any significant devaluations to existing skills. I think that somebody probably would have tunable all, but I'm not really sure. I certainly don't think the front page would be full, and probably not the front page of every skill would be full either, but it's hard to say. If Slayer was still 25k an hour, if RC was still also 25k, unless you did lavas, which not many people did, but I guess some people probably would, there wouldn't be very many people. I don't think there would be a full page, and that would still make it a bit more exciting and competitive, because when I think by now the top 100 plus of every skill is full, it's when you don't have the ranks to push for, the competition, it people don't have the same motivation. When every skill can be AFK'd to such an extreme degree and you can still get pretty good XP rates, it's just not really the same. So yeah, to me, the game kind of went in the direction that I feared, and we're here. There's a lot of great PVM content, and that's what people really play for primarily. And we're pretty much just playing like an alternate timeline, and now we're at like, I don't know, 2015 RS3 with old school combat system and graphics. And I guess the majority of the community is happy with that, which is fine. For me, it came at the expense of skilling, which is what I play this game for, so that's a bummer. But luckily, I still find a lot of fun skilling in free-to-play, and I anticipate that staying true for a while, because I think that free-to-play will remain a very slow-moving game in terms of updates and progression and everything, which is what makes it exciting for me. I really enjoy the fact that this free-to-play UIM, it will never get 200 mil with the current meta. It would take me the rest of my life, literally. It takes such an insane amount of time. So that is exciting to me, because like the EHP now for 200 mil on a pay-to-play reg, it's a lot. I mean, it's like close to 12K. It's going to keep going down and down. I guess it'll go up a little bit when sailing comes out probably, but it's just gonna keep dropping. And at this point, that's like, if you're playing a reasonable but not crazy amount of time per year, you're there in 4 to 5 years, that's a good amount of time. But I want to be playing this game for longer than that, honestly. So one of my longer term goals in this account has been to pass the EHP number for pay to play reg 200 mil, and just keep on going into the further depths of the high scores, which is populated just by Ironman and other restricted accounts that can gain more EHP than that. And to me, the idea of finishing skilling on an account is kind of depressing, because that's what I play this game for. Like, if I finish skilling on my main, then the account is just over, and then what? Like, I just want to keep progressing a single account. And like my current EHP number, if that was on my main account, I would be done with the account in another year or two. And yeah, I don't know if I would really feel happy about that. I did want to give a quick call out to a few pieces of skilling content that have come out since that complaining video that I think are actually good. And if I were to get back into skilling in a serious way on pay to play, I would probably go for those methods and enjoy them. And those are the Hallowed Sepulchre, which is easily the best piece of skilling content they've released into this game. It is fully intentional in its design, and it's challenging. It takes a lot of skill to optimize, has a lot of complexity. It's awesome. I've never done it, but I've watched a lot of people do it, live streaming and stuff over time. And I think that's probably the thing I would enjoy the most about pay-to-play skilling if I were to do it again. The artifact thieving on Zaya is kind of interesting content on its own, but it becomes really interesting when you multi-skill with it. Like, a lot of people do fire making or herb lore or crafting or whatever while they're running around. That seems like a pretty cool method. I'm not really a big fan of multi-skilling, honestly, because it turns two skills into one skill, but the method itself seems cool. And I think there's a lot of depth there, a lot of room for gradually improving and optimizing the method as you grind it out over like hundreds of hours. Or actually, yeah, I guess you'd spend like close to 1,000 hours there if you did all of thieving, I think. And then 1.5 techniques, which obviously wasn't at all an intentional thing, but it made woodcutting a lot more interesting than 2-tick for sure, and seems like pretty cool and challenging. So basically, the only pay-to-play skilling methods that are still relevant and also seem interesting are, shockingly, 4 granite mining is still the meta. the one skill I did. That's pretty cool, actually. Sepulcher, artifacts, and teaks, and everything else is just, it seems pretty boring. Unfortunately, hunter and fishing have been kind of destroyed by driftnet, which I don't know that much about driftnet. Maybe there's a little bit of skill to it, but it seems a lot less interesting than barb fishing or hunting chins. And barb fishing is also dead compared to two-tick swordfish with the harpoon, which is also a lot less interesting. So yeah, it's just like, I don't know, why would I pay to play for skilling when there's like 4 interesting methods, the rest is pretty boring. You finish the game in 4 or 5 years, and then what? You go for clog, you spin the roulette wheel for another 20,000 hours or something and hope you get lucky on third age. Yeah, I don't know, just the perma skill hopping of doing all the clog stuff with Slayer and whatever, and then just like going for stupid rare drops where you either get lucky or you are there forever doesn't appeal to my brain. But I can understand. I mean, I apologize for being a bit toxic about PVM, but yeah, to me, I don't understand the appeal, but it is what the majority of the player base likes. I think the only thing that I would find interesting about PVM is the challenge parts of it, like probably some of the combat achievements are pretty interesting to do. I mean, I did the Inferno back in 2017, not long after it came out. That was really fun. It was a good challenge. It made me a better player. I learned some new mechanics, that kind of thing. And I think there have been some new PVM content challenges, things that people have done that seem pretty cool. But playing for the RNG, I don't see it. I'd much rather play for consistent long-term progress than, you know, like the end game of the clog is clues, and the rare or mega rare clue drops. It's just like you could finish it in 10,000 hours, you could finish it in 100,000 hours. Like, you're just actually pissing away time. I don't know. I guess I'll take that back. You're not, I mean, this whole game is pissing away time in a sense, but to me, it's like, I want to sit down, spend an hour playing this game and get X amount of XP. I don't want to sit down for an hour and get absolutely nothing and be no closer to the goal than I was an hour ago, or in the case of third age, like 1,000 hours ago. But I have massive respect for players like Hey Jace and like the high rank cloggers. I definitely still keep up with them and like to see their progress. I think it's just cool to see people that are really long-term dedicated to this game no matter what they're doing. So I personally would never enjoy doing what they do, but I still think it's cool to watch. And yeah, definitely kudos to them. I think Hey Jace is possibly the best account in this game at this point, because there are a few other tuner malallers who are still grinding, like Dead Wilson and probably some others. But Hey Jace has been by far the most consistent player throughout the entire history of this game, and it shows. His account is awesome. And it takes a certain type of player to be able to enjoy both skilling and the rest of the game, and I'm not one of those players. I really just only want to do skilling in this game at this point. I know I did the collection or the like completionist series way back, long before all the clog and all that other stuff, and that was cool. It was fun as a little side project after maxing, and it was fun to be doing something that not many people were doing at the time. But yeah, as a long-term thing, it isn't for me. I think, I mean, once I got to the pet hunting, I burnt out for skilling again, because doing that degree of RNG grinding just wasn't it for me. But completing all the other little odd tasks in the game I found pretty fun at the time, and it was more of like a short to medium term goal aside from the pets, whereas now it's like you can just do it forever. Other things to talk about before I end the ramble, people still always ask about if I'm still hitting the gym, and for those who don't know, I have been dealing with wrist tendonitis in my right wrist primarily, sometimes my left also, for like 1.5 years now. Took me out of work for a good few months, and then I was working part-time for a while, and I returned to full-time a couple months ago, so that's great. And that entire time, my RS gameplay was 100% AFK. Work is the number one priority for me, and then fitness and RS are secondary, tertiary. Fitness is still a challenge. I continue to do like squats and stuff for a bit, but my wrists were still like really bothering me last year, so I completely quit the gym for a while because I was worried that just like stabilizing the bar with heavy weight on it or like lifting up the plates to load the bar was enough to aggravate my wrist. So I was really just trying to do everything I possibly could to heal that because I care a lot about my job and my career, and that comes before anything else that could kind of take up the cycles that my wrist has, the ability that my wrist has to be used day to day. So yeah, it's taken a really long time to heal, and it's still definitely far from 100%. I'm sure that doing click intensive skilling on RS was a part of it, but I don't actually think it was the main cause. I think it was mostly powerlifting and work. Because at the time I was doing 3-tick fishing, which is pretty click intensive, but I was doing it for like 10 to 20 hours a week. Whereas back in the day, I was doing like 70 plus hour weeks of click intensive skilling most of the time for several years and never had an issue. So I think it's I was training powerlifting very heavily, just a lot of strain. I wasn't taking much break. I was working a lot. It started coming on during a time period where I was working a lot of extra hours and doing some pretty like strenuous, repetitive tasks. So yeah, I think it was a combination of everything. I'm sure like the haters are going to be like, yeah, this is what you get for advocating for click intensive skilling and whatever. But yeah, in reality, I think that was a contributing factor, but I don't think it was the primary factor. And I don't regret the skilling that I did do because I was having fun, and I certainly hope to get back to doing that degree of click intensive skilling eventually. But yeah, not there yet. So still I do a lot of AFKing. I've been doing like a decent amount of crafting per week, which is like higher APM than this and better EHP. Certainly not high APM by any means, but it's like you're paying attention for a couple minutes and then you're AFK for a couple minutes, and I get like 0.8 EHP, so it's pretty good. So yeah, I've been slowly working on crafting, and like today wrists are bothering me a bit, so I'll just be AFK. But most days of the week these days I can craft, which is also a big progress because when I first started back full-time working, I was fully AFKing again, and like my wrists were a bit more taxed and painful day to day just from working full-time. So I'm seeing the progress, but I have to look back like a few months to compare now versus a few months ago. It's not like I see much change week to week. So I guess injuries like this can just take a really long time to heal, especially if you're still using it a bit, which is kind of hard not to when it's your wrist. So long answer short, no, I'm not weightlifting anymore, and it makes me very sad. I miss it every day, and it makes me sad to be losing my strength. But I will get back to it, and I actually joined a gym again last week, which I'm very excited about, and I'm just doing leg machines. I should have just been doing that this whole time, but better now than never. So I'm back to it. I'm doing leg machines. I did a few squats. I might try doing squats here and there, but yeah, I don't want to push it. Just got to take it slow, stay consistent, and I'm sure I'll get back to where I was eventually. And if not, I don't need to be as strong as I was. Maybe I peaked when I was 26 in terms of raw strength, but just because I peaked doesn't mean I shouldn't endeavor to stay fit as much as I can for the rest of my life, because it's better to do some exercise than no exercise, and that's pretty much always true as long as you can. So that's where I'm at with that. It's one of the more challenging things I've had to deal with in life so far, but I'm making my way through it. I'm doing the best I can, and I've kind of gotten past I think the worst of the depression and sadness around it, and now I'm feeling more equipped to move forward and deal with this as a part of my life, because whether I like it or not, it is a part of my life. So yeah, for those curious about the weightlifting, I am a bit lighter than I used to be. Most of the weight loss is muscle, but yeah, I'm doing what I can. I was also getting back into running a bit just because I could, but then I started having ankle issues, so I've been backed off on the running a bit. But yeah, I think I'll try to integrate running into my exercise routine, maybe at least like once or twice a week also. I'll have to balance it with doing leg machines and stuff also. But yeah, doing some cardio is good, and I never used to do any cardio. I was just purely weightlifting. So I think for my long-term health, it would probably be good for me to do some cardio also. So that's maybe one positive thing out of this, is that it forced me into trying out something like running, because I couldn't do much else. And I was going crazy, not getting any exercise. I don't know how I did it for so long, like all of my teenage years, and basically until 2017 when I started weightlifting, I just got like no exercise other than walking if I needed to walk somewhere. And I guess it sort of bothered me back then, I guess, but I'd never really experienced joy from a sport. So, and now I have, and I can't go back. And I think that's a good thing. And the last thing that's been on my mind lately, probably for like a year now, I guess, is this private server project that I've been following, which is 2004scape. And it's in alpha right now. It's fully playable. It's a very faithful recreation of RuneScape from like May of 2004, so a few months after the RuneScape 2 release. So it contains a couple of updates post-release, including clue scrolls, and then that's where it ends. It's a project that one of my friends from the free-to-play Iron Man community has contributed to a lot, and their goal is to be as faithful as possible to the original game, down to the fact that they've basically recreated RuneScript, so that they're programming the game as similarly as they can to how it was actually programmed, including all the bugs and the quirks and everything. They've been working on it for quite a long time. Obviously, it's slow progress because of their goals with it, and to make it as accurate as possible. They've scraped like gazillions of images off of old forums and stuff to make things visually accurate, and have like an archive of all old RuneScape YouTube uploads to observe mechanics and stuff. So it's pretty cool. And right now in alpha, there are cheat codes and stuff. Like you can use dev commands, so there's not high scores or anything. You can just you can play the game, you can walk around and see the map, and it's really cool. But once it goes into beta, it will actually be like a game you can play. It's going to be obviously 1-to-1 XP rates and everything, and it will have high scores. So there's no ETA, but I think it's close-ish. I think they said that the initial beta release will be only free-to-play, and then later they will add all of the pay-to-play stuff. I think most of the pay-to-play stuff is already implemented, but maybe it just needs more testing, and they could release the beta a bit sooner if they did free-to-play first. So that would be kind of cool. So I'm certainly planning to give that a shot when it comes out, because obviously, being who I am, that appeals to me. It's about 1 year before I started playing RS originally, so it's missing a few pieces of content that would be very nostalgic for me, but still I think it will be a really awesome game, and I just think it would be cool to play a game like that again, because it's kind of what OSRS was on release. It was a faithful, a perfectly accurate recreation of RuneScape in August 2007, and people were really enthusiastic about that. They really liked that it was exactly as the game was, but then it changed, and for a commercial product that makes sense. It's kind of inevitable. But for a enthusiast private project that is not for profit, it their goal is for it to be faithful and to just stay the same, and that's awesome. That's exactly what I want. Maybe my ideal time for a frozen version of RS would be more like 2006 or 2007, I think, or even like mid to late 2005. All of that time period was awesome. 2004 is much more similar to Classic in a lot of ways. There was so much new content added between 2004 and 2007 that is very iconic. But any game in that time period that has an active player base, and I guess to me it's more important that like the community and the feel of the game and the moderation of the game is a certain way. That's the most important thing to me, rather than the exact time period of the game. And I'm optimistic that it will be that way. It sounds like playing alts won't be allowed. Like the exact rule set from that time period will be the same, which would be really cool. So yeah, that's got me excited. I don't know if I will end up playing it as a main project, and I don't know if it will survive because of copyright stuff. Who knows? If it gets too popular, maybe it won't. Hard to say. But it's something that I'm looking forward to and gives me a bit of hope. Maybe there'll be some cool old school skilling going on in that server, and even if I'm not playing it super hard, it would be cool to watch. So I will probably be making videos of that when it comes out and just see what happens. There's also a game coming out by the Gower brothers in like 2 weeks called Brighter Shores. They've been working on it for a really long time. It's by Paul and Andrew, the creators of RuneScape, and I think they maybe got Ian in a bit on it also. And it's also an MMO. It has free-to-play, pay-to-play. They've released bits and pieces about it over the last, I don't know, like 6 months, but still we don't know that much about it, which is cool. I think it's better to play a new game that has a little bit of surprise and just be immersed in the world and learning new stuff. So that's coming out, I think, on November 6th. They finally gave us a date, so we'll see if it gets pushed back or not. It's been a bit delayed, but not too much. So I think I'll be giving that a try, and I think a lot of other RuneScape players probably will as well. And that's another thing that I'm looking forward to. But I think no matter what, I'll just always at least be AFKing the free-to-play UAM until I run out of stuff to AFK on it, which will still take a few more years. Because I really want to see an account through to a longer term than I did with my pay-to-play main, and I think this is the account to do it on. So yeah, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for listening to all of this. Yeah, do I have anything else to say? Not really. I think just shout out to the people in the community that disagree with me but aren't flaming me, because I know I can be irritating sometimes, even if it's not always my intention. And yeah, thank you all for listening, and I'll see you all soon, either with some free-to-play UAM progress or maybe a different game entirely. Oh, and the RS3 account, I'm playing that right now also. It's just not on screen. But yeah, I've been AFKing the RS3 free-to-play account still. Not making huge gains, but yeah, it's a nice little side project, so I'm still doing that. So I'll make another video about that at some point, but can't say when. All right, see ya.